The Workbench Access module is a great module for when you want to control who can create content in various sections of your site. We're going to use the Workbench Access module, and you can find this at drupal.org/project/workbench_access. And it's important to note that I am not going to use the 1.0 release. I'm actually going to be using the dev release. It's been about a year since the last release, and there have been a lot of bug fixes since then. So I am going to be using this release from October 6th of 2012. Okay, with that installed, we'll go to the Workbench section of our module page and enable Workbench Access. And you will note that the Workbench Access module does not require the core Workbench module. It even comes with its own view and can be used alone. However, it integrates well with the Workbench module, so I'm going to leave that enabled as well. Let's go ahead and configure Workbench Access. We're going to come back to the Editors and Roles tabs in just a bit, but let's start out in our Settings tab. We see that our available access schemes are menu or taxonomy, and we can use the tags taxonomy that's enabled by default. I'm going to first click the Install the Test configuration for Workbench. This is going to actually create a museum vocabulary, create taxonomy terms in that vocabulary, enable all terms as site editorial sections, assign all site content to the museum section, which will be the topmost level of our hierarchy, and it'll assign user 1 or the root user to the museum section. Okay, so now that that's done, we'll see that our taxonomy is the active access scheme. We're using the museum vocabulary. Our enabled content types are article and basic page. So these are the content types that will have Workbench access rules enforced. Our Workbench access message label section, we are automatically assigning the sections, and we're requiring a Workbench access form element. I'm not going to allow multiple section assignments for now, so I'll just save. Let's go to our next tab, which is sections. Now this is actually our taxonomy hierarchy that Workbench access is using. Our topmost level is all of museum. Underneath that, we have exhibits, library, and gift shop. Underneath exhibits, we have exhibit staff and exhibits visitors. Library staff and library visitors are underneath library, and gift shop staff and gift shop visitors are underneath gift shop. So because this is a hierarchy, anyone who's assigned to all of museum will also be able to edit content in any other section. Anyone who's assigned to the exhibits section will also be able to edit content in exhibits staff and exhibits visitors, but not library, library staff, or so on. Two things to keep in mind is that Workbench access only controls editing permissions and not view permissions. If you need to access who can view content, you'll be better off using a module like taxonomy access control or organic groups. And the other thing to note is that these taxonomy terms describe who the content is for and not who should be able to edit it. So for example, the library visitors section will contain content for library visitors. It does not mean that library visitors should be able to edit content in that section. That's a very important distinction to keep in mind as we're working with the Workbench Access module. Like I said, we're going to come back to these roles and editors tabs. Let's just take a brief glance at each of them, and then we're actually going to use them later. In the roles tab, you can see our access hierarchy, and we can see that 0 roles are assigned to these sections. If we click on 0 roles, it says that no active roles have been found. We can select which roles are assigned to this section. In this case, only administrator role is available. That's because of a permission, and we're going to change that in a minute as well. In the editors tab, we can see that there is one editor in the museum section, and we were told that this was going to happen. User 1 has been added to this. We can also add users to other sections, and we'll get to that in a minute. But you do it simply by typing the user and hitting update editors. Again, I'm not going to do that right now.